While you're waiting, you can put your name and your program name in the chat box for us. That would be so helpful. About another minute or so.
先把东西收拾好吧。哎呀，这个谁的？哥哥把袜子穿起来，不要放在这里面好吗？谢谢。OK 了，我借了，你是不是听了我的书？但是呢，你不要把我搞得乱七八糟。那个第一个座已经好了。
Okay, I think maybe we should get started now. Welcome, the two of you. Thank you so much for joining us. We're Team Spirit. I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Sohaila. I am an early learning coach out of the Kent office, and I'm going to pass it to Bob.
My name is Bob, and I am a coach lead for this team. I am out of the Seattle office, and I will pass it to Deontay.
Hello, my name is Deontay. I am a EA coach, and I'm a newer EA coach, and I am out of the Tacoma office currently, and I will pass it to Julia.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julia King. I'm a coach out of the Tacoma office. I know you probably see my name on the screen twice, but we're doing double duty here. And I'll pass it to Mandy.
I'm Mandy. I'm a coach out of the Tacoma office. I will pass to Karen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Karen, and I am based out of the Seattle Waller office. And I'm so happy to be here, and I'll pass it to Brandon.
I am a very new coach. This is just my second week. I'm going to be out of the Seattle office. Who can I pass it to right now? Let's see. Did we get everyone?
That's everyone.
Okay.
And then who's not with us today is another coach, Estelle. So you'll be receiving some emails from her shortly after this. So before we get started today, I wanted to do a land acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm working, living, and later playing on the land of the first people of what is now considered Seattle and King County. The Duwamish, also known by many as the Duwamish, people are still here and thriving despite active colonialism. It is important to note that land acknowledgement is not a new practice, but a traditional one. And for many non-Indigenous communities, it is a powerful way of showing respect. Another way that we can honor the Duwamish people is by paying rent to their tribe for taking space or living on their land. If you're interested in that, I'm going to put the link in the chat right now. And to conclude this acknowledgement, I'd like to honor the Duwamish people with a few minutes of quiet reflection for their people, past, present, future, and the land itself. There are currently 29 federally recognized tribes and 5 tribes that are not recognized by the US government, but are recognized by the state of Washington. If you are wondering whose land you're on, you can text this number, hold on, and then you can share with us if you like to after this quiet reflection. So we're just going to take a couple minutes now. Okay, thank you very much for your reflection. I see in the chat, we have Karen said she's on the land of Duwamish people. Mandy said Puyallup and Coast Salish. Bob also shared Coast Salish and Duwamish land. Thank you guys for sharing. And then we're going to move on to our first section, which I believe is Julia.
I think we still have, we're going to do norms and agreements, and we have the mission. It's all good.
Hey, I'm ready for you.
You're so excited.
I know, we are all excited for it, Julia. Julia's ready. She's got her dough out. That is coming right up, we promise.
Are we doing the mission statement first, or do you want me to go in and do the Zoom etiquette and stuff?
I can do the mission statement, sorry. Okay, so CCR's mission is always to improve all children's access to high quality early learning experiences by engaging with families, caregivers, and communities. And our mission is embedded in our daily work by identifying and addressing racism so that all children thrive in their early learning environments.
Awesome, thanks, Karen. And I'm going to share my screen for a couple of slides here. Okay, so just a few Zoom logistics. We encourage you to take care of your needs as they arise. If you need a bio break or refueling or anything like that, please mute yourself while you're not sharing with the group to eliminate background noise. We respect your choice to keep your video on or off. It's great to see faces, but we also understand if there's a reason for not being able to do your video. And then we will also be monitoring the chat for anyone who feels more comfortable using that method of communication. Some of our norms that we have are stay engaged. If you can't hear us or need additional support, please let us know. If you find yourself needing to stand or move around, please do so. We definitely want everyone to be comfortable as we're going through our time together. We love participation, so please participate to the best of your ability at this point. We understand that sometimes there are children in the background and things like that. So also, we want to point out that you are the experts in childcare, and sharing your experiences and reflections is incredibly valuable. So we ask you, please share to your comfort level through chat or over, if you want to unmute yourself to share, that's great also. Speak your truth. And then, we often avoid speaking our truth for fear of what others might say. So we just want to acknowledge that it's really important that we're creating an environment where everyone is free to speak openly so that learning can occur. And later today, we will have a raffle prize. So we'll be giving away the school air fryer. So stay tuned, and definitely please make sure that you put your name and program name in the chat box so that we have record of you being here and you can be in the raffle. All right, and then we'll move on to Julia.
Okay, Bob. I think we're just going to go over Estelle's form for the family style dining.
All right, give me 1 second to pull that up. Y'all see it?
It's coming.
Yes, we can see it now.
It's everyone. So yeah, I'm gonna have to work off of. Okay, got it. So we have this form will go out to you guys also in an email after this GLE, but just wanted to touch on family style dining. Estelle was so gracious to create this for us. So in her absence, I will review her form with you. So I know a lot of you are familiar with family style dining because we highly encourage it, and so does DCYF when you're having meal times with your kiddos. It's great with kids of all ages, adults sitting at the same table with kids, engaging in the conversation while eating. And during the family style dining, children can serve themselves when possible. Some of the benefits, you have your social skills, your language and vocabulary development, you're modeling your conversation skills, you're using utensils, they're working on their fine motor for some of those smaller children, those pinching skills, hand-eye coordination, they're going to be scooping, pouring, and just decision-making and problem solving as they decide what and how much to eat, right? With the infants, we're just going to follow their hunger cues, making sure that, even though you have set schedules for infants and being able to eat, they still are getting their needs met on demand. Let's scroll up a little bit. So with our infants, we want to make sure that we're mindful and we try to introduce new foods as recommended by their parents or their healthcare providers. So, that goes into making sure we're respecting, some of our cultural norms too. Some families are very specific about what they want to introduce to their children. Even if you think that they should be eating certain things because other children are, we want to make sure you're making that decision with the parents and the families, okay? And then talking to them during their meals and during their snack times, because we're also building those language skills, even with infants and toddlers. With toddlers, it's thanks over hand serving, talking about how things taste, smell, what it feels like, giving those routines for being consistent with their meal times. They know when it's breakfast, they know when it's snack, they know when it's lunchtime, they know that afternoon snack. So you want to follow these with the same age, with the same preschool routines as well. But making sure you're really encouraging those conversations. And we're talking about, start talking about those food groups and how they help our bodies and how they really encourage, our bones and our nervous system and our immune systems and things like that. It's really important as well when new foods are being introduced, even to preschoolers. We encourage them to try, but we don't want them to feel like they're being forced and that they can't have other food choices because they don't try something else. That is totally a choice. Yes, we have our groups. We know by USDA, we want to put certain things on their plate, but as long as you're asking at least twice, you can still mark them as having had the meal. We don't want to punish anyone for, well, you didn't eat all of your broccoli, so no, you can't have another chicken nugget. We want to make sure that, you're respecting their choices or decisions. It's not on you if they don't choose to eat it. You've offered it. Bob, are you saying something?
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I am. I wasn't sure if I was muted or not. I don't think we're going to go through all the nutritional information.
No, I think we're good.
Yeah.
So again, this handout will be emailed to everyone after the GLE, so you'll be able to receive it. But this also just incorporates, the nutritional facts and servings for your meal times for the kiddos at different ages and even adults. Now, without further ado, I'm going to be demonstrating a food activity / just a meal or for a snack, but we're going to do some pinwheels. So for the sake of time, I'm going to be moving a little bit fast. I've pre-made a few already, but we're going to start this off. So the recipe will be sent to you also in your emails, and there'll be some pictures and things. So I'm using the Pillsbury crescent rolls. I don't know if you guys are familiar with these, but this is so easy. You can also use puff pastry, but puff pastry for me dries out super fast. So the Pillsbury dough, whichever deli meat you want to choose. I have ham today because that's what I had in my refrigerator here at home. You can do turkey, you can do chicken, cheese slices. I have a white cheddar cheese slices, and I also have shredded. I don't know if you can see shredded cheese to use. And then we're going to have some mustard. Okay, so I'm going to start off by taking the mustard, if you can see on the other screen where I'm at, just going to rub the mustard. You can choose whatever kind of mustard you have. I've made this earlier and I did it with Dijon mustard. That's delicious. Today we're just going to do regular yellow mustard, or you can omit it altogether. You can make this as fancy as you want, or as simple and basic. Okay. Are you guys seeing this? I don't know if you can see what I got going on here. All right.
So I just add, if you were doing this with children can do these steps too. They can do the brushing. They can do the, unrolling of the crescent dough.
That's right. That's right. Like I said, I'm working with whatever was in my refrigerator. So I have some very thin slices of ham. So I'll probably go with some thicker slices or more ham as called for. So I grabbed a different variety of meat. I have a salami as well. So we're just going to pile them on so that we have a nice bite of meat inside. Now, my recipe calls for you to just use shredded cheese, but I found that if you do some sliced cheese, when you're rolling, it kind of stays intact a lot better. So I have some sliced cheese, white cheddar. You could do a Gouda, any kind of melty cheese. It's totally up to you. But of course, in my house, they like cheese. So on top of this wonderful sliced cheese, I'm going to put some shredded cheese as well. And this is where I have a mixture of Parmesan and Romano, which is like a hard cheese. And then I have a sharp cheddar. Okay, so I'm just going to just pile that on here. This is where the kids get to have all the fun. And if you're doing this at home, they'll probably want to take mouthfuls of cheese and just throw it in their mouth when you're not looking. So the fun part, we're going to roll this up like a pinwheel or have you. I have this on parchment paper. You can do this either on a cutting board or on foil, but I just find it just easier for me to just push it to the side. Doesn't have to be fancy. Doesn't have to be fancy. Once you have it already rolled up, you want to put this in the refrigerator or the freezer for about maybe 10 minutes or so, just to firm it up. Okay. But for the sake of time, I have one already created and rolled. And what we're going to do is we're going to slice these pinwheels. As you can see. Okay. And I'll set them on some foil, but I'll do a couple. Super easy, super easy. And if you're not ready to bake these can go right into the freezer as well. Totally up to you. All right, so I have a couple. Now we're gonna bake these in the oven, 375 for 9 to 12 minutes, okay? Until they're golden brown. I like to take like a garlic and herb butter melted, and I put this on top of them before I bake. Once I've baked them and they come out, ta-da, here is the finished product. So, any questions?
What herbs do you use in the garlic butter?
I just did parsley and fresh chopped garlic. I don't like to use powder or anything dried. I think that was fairly easy enough, right? Hope you guys enjoyed it.
I'm curious if that's something you felt like you could do for yourself or something you could do with children. I'm curious what people think.
So I really think you can do so many different variations. I thought about pastrami and sauerkraut. I thought about roast beef and like a horseradish or Dijon mustard with like a Swiss cheese and rolling that up and having, so I mean, you could play with your meats and cheeses and you can use these, like make them fun with the kiddos, or you can do these for your own little dinner parties at home, little appetizers. People show up at the last minute, throw something together. They think you done slaved over all day.
Ooh, what about like a parenting event? What about serving these? You could make these with the children and then serve them to the parents. It would be so classy. And like, yeah.
If I were a parent, I'd so send my kid to that daycare.
I think that would be a great addition to be able to do it for a family, a parent night out or a parent night in.
questions for before we move on to the next section? Dante's getting hungry. Yeah, I'm hungry. And I had lunch.
Okay, so I'm hoping that, somebody's going to try this recipe and take a picture and share their results or their own spin on it, your own variations. That'd be cool. Because we want to see you guys, share back, let us know if they work for you, what doesn't work, what you found better. Notice I did no salt, pepper, none of that. I just did an herb butter.
Okay, if there are no questions, I can share the video now. A small video to share concerning the topic of gender in cooking. It will be on the humorous side, so feel free to just enjoy.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when he made that play. What an idiot.
Hey, honey bunny, how was your day? I want to talk about it. I want to talk about your feelings.
Hold on, man. What?
Oh, nothing. Never mind.
Yeah, so I was basically doing a ton of push-ups, and I was like, look, bro, I can do what I want. You don't own the pavement.
Babe, did you take out the trash today?
Huh?
Oh, nothing. Never mind. I'll take care of it. Although I know I'm dark but lovely like the tents of Kedar, I just don't feel like it.
Hold on, man. Behold, you are beautiful, my love. Behold, you are beautiful.
Yeah, but I don't feel like it.
Oh, game's back on. Check you later. What's the ETA on the beef stew?
I am working as fast as I can, okay?
Babe, what's wrong?
It's just my brother didn't call me on my birthday. He called me the day after my birthday, but every year he calls me on my birthday.
Well, just call him and tell him you're upset.
I'm not upset, I'm fine.
Well, you sound upset, so just call him. There, solve your problem.
It's not that easy. It's
Here
gonna
we
be
go.
awkward at the next family reunion.
Yes!
Dad are gonna call and it's gonna just be a mess.
What?
Nothing, never mind.
I'm really hungry. Can you just microwave it or something?
Microwave it? It's gotta be a slow simmer, okay? Crockpot's gotta heat up.
Okay, I really didn't hear anything you just said. What are we doing this weekend? You want to do something?
Yes? I don't know. I'm confused. You decide. I guess I just want you to want to do something. Lead me.
Can't you just tell me what to do?
Tell you? Tell you? I mean, who wears the pants in this family anyways, huh?
Well, from this angle, it sure isn't you.
Why does everything always have to be a joke to you?
Come on, that's funny. Come on.
It's not funny.
It's
not
a little funny.
It is funny.
Okay.
It is funny.
Come
Just because I'm
on.
smiling doesn't mean I'm not upset, though.
Oh, come on. Dude.
Okay. So now on that note, we can transition into our first questions. But I wanted to take a second to open up just a moment for you guys to just give reactions. Like I said, one of my first reactions to that video was very familiar because the way I was raised, pretty much in the household, I was raised in a single parent household and it was just me and my mom. And so all of the cooking and things like that from an early standpoint in my life came from her until I was a teenager. And then she kind of helped me figure out exactly how to switch the roles and be able to provide for myself and provide for her and the family and things like that. And so I was able to take that gender role switch in cooking a bit early on, but sometimes it's not always possible. And like that video, it was a conflict of interest.
I couldn't help but to just get a kick out of that whole video because that looks like the story of my life every day. Welcome to married life. You know, we be slaving in the kitchen and they just don't care. No, I'm playing. But yeah, that was kind of cool to see that the whole narrative was what just about every woman has dealt with within a relationship if you don't have a good help partner. So yeah, I thought it was hilarious.
I agree. And like how we're all socially constructed in multiple cultures, socially constructed that the woman is in the kitchen oftentimes, and the woman is the person who's ignored and left to do a lot of the home tasks. Like I can speak to that from all three of my cultures. Like that is the expectation for me, and I totally identified with that.
No, yeah, I thought the video was funny, but I think it's just interesting how many assumptions that we make that are highlighted when you just reverse the genders and you realize, yeah, just sort of think biases you just accept.
I think another good thing to note is that cooking is a skill that we should like aspire everyone to do, because when you're older and you're living on your own and you don't know how to cook and you're waiting on like takeout all the time, it's not healthy. And yeah, if we like taught everyone how to cook and the importance of cooking, imagine where we would be as a society. In the chat, Nemo says the comment to the microwave made her laugh because her kids always want food to be prepared or come frozen so that they could just microwave it.
But is that because they're in a hurry, or is that because they like the microwave? Because I remember being a kid, I just wanted to press the buttons. It was just something to do. It didn't involve.
I agree. I wanted the easiness, but then as I got older, I was like, I need fresh food. I can't be relying on the microwave all the time.
Deontay was talking about being taught by his mother. I didn't quite get that. I had to be out on my own and spend a couple of years just ramen and microwaving before I was like, okay, I'm gonna need to like eat more than this. I can't survive like this. So I am like kind of self-taught, which I think a lot of us are. But I'm curious. So in that video, that scenario we watched, they didn't have any children, but what do you think children are experiencing when they're watching situations like that? What are they picking up and absorbing when they're seeing relationships like that?
Marianne, Amelia, we'd love to hear from you guys. Not to call you out, but we would love to hear your thoughts. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. We just want to know if you had anything to share. We'd love to hear your thoughts. I mean, I can speak to that question, Bob, like, being a mother of 3/4 children in and out of this house, that dynamic is very similar to my home dynamic. And I think about that all the time, how that impacts my daughters versus my sons and what that will look like. And the oldest two have commented on it. They've been like, you do a lot around the house. I'm like, yeah, that's why we have chores in the family. What? And everyone has a chore, whether they do it or not, but I keep trying.
I think one of the first things I think about with children is, especially that you brought up chores, how sometimes we might normalize or stereotype the types of chores that they do. And so like cooking might be seen as a chore for some young boys because all they're told is to take out the trash or, clean up your room or go outside with your dad or go outside and mow the grass, So I think sometimes in certain areas, we can change the conversation by switching the way they're normalized, switching the things that they do inside the house or inside the facility.
It's interesting, okay, because you mentioned outside. How we've somehow managed to gender inside and outside. Because you're right, chores for boys are outside, cooking for men is outside. If it's on a grill, that's perfectly socially acceptable. But the moment it comes inside, then that's weird. Like I don't understand, I don't get it. It doesn't even make sense, but it's just rules we've made up for it.
Also, types of food that we eat and portions that we eat completely plays into gender. I think cross-culturally too.
I don't know if you guys notice this, but like during like especially big holidays, usually it's the women that are cooking and they don't even eat, like they're not even taking care of themselves because they're so worried about everyone else eating, which is like, it's beautiful, but I always have to remind the elder women in my family, they have to eat, take care of yourself.
I want to go back to the question about where children's place is, because I think it's interesting to talk about cooking as a chore. I think that there's a way that we can talk about cooking in a way that's exciting and is fun, because I think when children see media, they don't see themselves. They see adults cooking. And so where is their place? And I think that can be sort of our role, is show them there are age appropriate ways that children can get involved that are still following safety guidelines, but they can still have a place in the cooking.
I used to teach a cooking class with children, and it was more like stuff that you could microwave or that you could just kind of put together because we didn't, just the safety issues, but they loved it. I mean, they loved being able to put the things together and being able to have a part of it and not just kind of seeing it come out on trays for them. Yeah, I worked in a center at the time, and not just kind of seeing it come out and having it there, but being able to actually be a part of it as well.
This is a great discussion. We have a few more questions to add to this discussion. So for our visual learners, I'm going to share screen to have the questions up, just to keep adding to this. And we can always go back to what we're talking about still too. Hold on, let me see if I can get rid of this. Okay, so the first question that Deontay asked was along the lines of what's your experience in relationship to food based on your gender and culture. And if anyone else has any thoughts or feelings more on that, we can go there, or we can just pop over to the next question, which is which cultural clashes or similarities have you identified between your home culture and the home culture of the families in your care? And for example, that would be like, some families might want you to spoon feed their children, whereas like maybe you expect the children to eat on their own or stuff like that. So, or you can, if anyone's looking at these questions and wants to answer any of them, that's totally great. We welcome that.
And remember, you can share in the chat as well. Are there any issues that you have, sort of conflict between you and the families, anything that comes up over and over? So Hala mentioned the spoon feeding, which I do see coming up. What age do children, is it appropriate for children to feed themselves? That is a personal and cultural decision. Different types of foods. Any of these things that come. They see your food as exotic or fancy when it's just regular everyday food. Yeah, no, I get that.
I used to get providers of color feel like the families, when they would serve them, just like you said, regular food for them, and people thought it was supposed to be a special occasion. Like if they were doing, the whole fried chicken, mac and cheese, collard greens, and cornbread, they're like, that's a lot of food. What's a special occasion? Versus this is just a Southern delicacy. It's regular, a weekday meal that goes on the table. They used to just be like, all they want is to give their kids chicken nuggets and things that they can identify with at home. And they're forgetting that when they're in someone else's setting, that they're going to be exposed to other, flavors and colorful foods and profiles.
This is kind of one just within our own family. So I like really spicy food, and my son's mom isn't necessarily a spicy food person. But I kind of made it my mission from his birth to make sure that he had access to spicy foods. And I don't want to like push his boundaries, but I wanted to make sure. And now it's not his favorite. He doesn't seek out, like, he doesn't have to carry around hot sauce like I do, but he can eat spicy food. He's not that person who goes to a certain type of restaurant and then can't find anything on the menu because he's too averse to trying new things or to strong flavors. So
I feel like that connects with identity as well. Like, I feel like I'm like, for example, the Puerto Rican side of my family, like you have to love spicy stuff, or it's like you're not Puerto Rican enough. So I feel like that's something too. Like I wanted my children to at least enjoy some of that spice and flavor to help like identify with that side of who we are.
What about people that don't understand the difference between spicy and seasoning? Because some people will be like, your food's too spicy and you don't have not a bit of pepper or nothing hot in it. You just season the food, because you have to sometimes step up to the plate and be like, well, what do you mean spicy? Well, you got all this stuff in there. I'm like, well, we're not just doing salt and pepper now, are we? But I love me some good hot spicy growing peppers. I like to eat like, hot peppers with anything fried. I just take a bite of it or what have you. I have habanero and Scotch bonnet hot sauces. Like, that's just what I like.
It makes me think, like, for those of you who cook for the children in your programs, how does that affect your cooking? Like, do you feel like you get to cook things and season things the way you would want to, or do you feel like you have to make it more bland because it's for children? Or what's your thoughts on that?
When I used to cook for children, I would make the food more bland just because children have like their taste buds are, you know, starting to develop, and I just want to be considerate of their taste buds. But sometimes like I'll let them decide how they want it seasoned and like try to get their input a lot of the time. And in the chat, Nemo says, I continue to cook things my way unless there's an allergy and the kids love it. Yeah.
I was going to talk a little bit about allergies next. I agree as the flavor. I think the other thing when thinking about cooking for children, there's the flavor and then there's the texture as well. I think a lot of children have a really sort of narrow range of textures that they're comfortable with. And so how do you help them expand that as well? But also being respectful and being respectful of family cultures and expectations around that. It's a lot. It's a big, I'm glad we're having this rich conversation because there's a lot to.
Before we jump to your section, Bob, I'm curious to know, like, does anyone experience any like hot button issues with children? Like, is it, you know, are there any picky eaters? Are there any expectations from the families and that are different than your expectations with children? And how do you deal with that? You know, anything along those lines that anybody wants to talk about or, you know, brainstorm with the group? We would love to help brainstorm with that. Thoughts, ideas.
I don't know if this is a hot button for me, but I'm pretty flexible. I like to individualize for each child, but I do have a couple rules that I'm pretty hard and fast on. And one, well, I guess for me, the hot button issue, and Karen brought it up earlier, is we don't ever force children to try food. You can't ever force them to try food, but you can invite them to, and you can have it on their plate. So for me, I talked about this with my team, I see people smiling. My hot button issue is that the food stays on your plate. You don't have to eat it, but you can't put it on your friend's plate. You can't put it on the table. You can't put it on the floor. Looking at it isn't going to harm you, but you don't have to eat it. And so that's kind of my hot button issue, is when children try to hide or do things with their food. And I'm like, just be comfortable. The broccoli's on your plate and you can eat the spaghetti, and that's okay.
You know, one thing that came up with me when I was working with providers was not just what we put in food, but how we eat food. So that might be the utensils that we use. So it ended up being a hot button issue for me because I think a lot of providers around me had a very strict rule that you can't eat with your hands. And I learned that the reason that some of the kids were eating with their hands was because that's what they were used to at home. And so I think that's something worth talking about, just because, you know, that might affect their comfort level. I'm not sure if any of you all have opinions on that matter. I know it can be kind of contentious.
And Nemo was talking about parents who say their children will only eat certain foods over and over and won't eat anything else. Don't like when parents say that. I've noticed that kids will try new foods when they see their friends eat it too. So that's definitely one thing to point out to parents, that, and I mean, as gently as you can. I mean, some parents are concerned about that. My child will only eat one kind of food. I don't know how to get them to try other things. But then some parents are more insistent. He only eats white bread, and that's okay with us. And we want to make sure that he only is fed white bread. And to help them understand, you know, nutritionally, you as maybe that's the choice they can make in their own home, but you as a provider can't. You have to provide a balanced diet. It's in the licensing. So that's one way you can sort of defend that when parents want you to be very specific with their diet. And then just more generally, remember that educating children is part of your job, but sometimes it's educating the parents too, helping them understand the value of nutrition, the value of a daily rainbow, the value of a plate that, you know, a variety for the child. But yeah, that definitely comes up a lot, and that's definitely a hot button. And then the utensils. I mean, yes, some cultures don't use utensils at all. They just don't. Are we moving on? I feel like maybe we're in a good place to move on. I am going to kind of abridge my section pretty quickly. It's kind of tacked on to what we were just talking about. And I just want to show this. It's going to take a second to pop up on the screen. Oh. Sorry, am I back? I dropped out for a second, but I'm back. Okay, I'm going to try and screen share again, and if it doesn't let me, then I'll just give up. Okay, I just wanted to show you quickly this iceberg concept of culture. I'm sorry about that. It doesn't look like it's going to let me screen share, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about surface and deep culture. So surface culture tends to be the things that you can see. So what types of food people eat, but then the deeper culture tends to be things like the times of day that they eat, the amounts that are considered appropriate, the number of times a day that they eat. And it's really important when you're thinking about the cultures of the families that you work with, that you think not only on those surface level things, but on those deeper level things, because that's really where children get caught in the middle. Because if grownups aren't really thinking about it and articulating it, if it's subconscious for us, then children have no way of talking about it themselves and no way of explaining, well, at home we do it like this, or at school we do it like this. And that's where they get really caught in the middle. And so that's just really where I wanted to sort of discuss the sort of surface versus deep concept of culture. The other thing I really wanted to quickly talk about is allergies. And I'm wondering, how do people handle allergies in their programs?
I think that's a really good question. I just want to speak to what I have seen as far as the adaptations. Nemo says, I have not had an allergy yet, but if they do, sorry, that went off the screen. Anybody can read that. Somehow I'm not able to log in on my laptop. That's why I'm on my phone.
I think she said, if I do, I would completely eliminate it from my home so that there's no contamination. And there are ways to document it. There are ways to, you want to get a doctor's note. You want to make sure you're informing other families, especially, they may know if it's a nut allergy, they may bring their own, treats in their bag or what have you. And if it's a severe allergy, just having that in the cubby area can be enough. So, and making sure you're communicating with the families. If the child needs an EpiPen, that you have that EpiPen, that you make sure that pen doesn't expire, because those things expire regularly, all those kinds of things. Updated info sheets posted where staff can see them, but making sure also that that's covered, because it is confidential. Medical information is confidential, so it's not exposed. I've seen places where they put the child's allergy on their cubby, like next to their picture, and I'm like, I don't think it's going to harm anything, but really, that's private information. So just think about that. And educating the other children, especially if some programs make the choice, we're not going to be nut-free, but we're going to have a nut-free table. But then you need to make sure those other children know, because they will share food under the table, and they will. So I guess those are, I have severe allergies, so those are my pitches for allergies.
I was more curious as to when they are when you're creating their menus, how much consideration are they putting into the children who have allergies? Because I've seen children, that have allergies, and the providers would really just put a lot of thought into the main meal for the rest of the children. And then you just see a child sitting on the side with something that's just bland and not thought through, a piece of bread, or, they just get scraps versus, well, did you create a good meal for them too? Versus, oh, these kids were over here, They might have this whole, 3-course meal, and you just threw a little grilled cheese together for this
That's
kid.
a
Like,
really good point. Yeah, no, because sometimes it even looks more like a snack. Like they get some like carrots and some crackers, and like that's not a meal. You're right. No, or it can go the other way around. I've had programs where the individualized meal are like amazing, and the main meal is just sort of like out of a vat, and it's like you got to balance it both ways. Like you want to all the children all deserve appealing food. Educate. Oh yeah, let's that. Yeah. We are really short on time. I want to make sure, because I want to make sure we get to the raffle if anyone has to leave. I know, Karen, you have a segment. If we ran over time a little bit, is that okay? Does anyone have to leave exactly at 2 o'clock? And yes, definitely, please enter your name and the name of your program so that we can enter you in the raffle. We're going to be giving away an air fryer in just a moment. Okay, dentist appointment. Well, don't worry, Nemo. You're in for the raffle either way. You've been here, you've been participating. So if you miss that actual part of it and you win, we'll get it. Karen, should we move on?
All right, I'm just gonna go into emergency preparedness with your food and what you have, and I will share my screen real quick. Everyone see all right?
It says your screen sharing, but it hasn't popped up yet. Give it another second.
Okay.
At least for me, it still just says your screen sharing, but I can't see what you're sharing.
It's saying Zoom quit unexpected.
And Zoom is not happy with our screen sharing at this particular moment. I don't know if I made co-host. I'm not sure what it is.
We could try that. I mean, I don't think the rest of us are screen sharing anymore, right?
I still have something.
Sorry, Mandy.
No problem.
Okay, sorry about that. All I was gonna say is that if you have an emergency food place or storage that you keep all your emergency food, I want to know how many of you have that, and like, do you do inventory on it? Do you have cans? Does anyone do a special recipe with their emergency food preparedness?
I feel like for me, the only program I've been in, I noticed that our food had expired, and then I think we just like donated or threw it all away. I don't think we ever had a plan or a system, or that's why I'm really glad you're bringing.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important to have a plan, because think about all the money you just wasted on like buying all those like food for emergencies. And was working at a program, and our nutritionist at the time said that we need to start using up our emergency food because they're about to expire. And she would give us like recipes on how to make it. And the one that my kiddos really liked was this Mexican corn salad that I made one day. And it was so easy and so like fresh. You would think like it didn't taste really good, but it tasted really good and they wanted more. So I made it 2 days after, because they really liked it and they ate it up. But yeah, definitely check your storage and make an inventory for yourself and have a list. I can share it with you at the end of the GLE, but I made like a template for everyone if you wanted, and you can just like see when you bought the food, when is it expired, how many do you have, and then Google as many recipes as you can. These food Like usually canned food has a shelf life of 5 years, but I would just double check and make sure it's not rusting, or definitely if it's rusted, don't donate that. That's not a good thing to donate. If you're not going to eat it, someone else is not going to want to eat it either. So be mindful of that. But yeah, definitely check your inventory and make sure that you're on top of your emergency preparedness. And that's about it for my section.
I did work with one program where each family created their own emergency kit for the child. And then once a year, they would send all those supplies. And it was an opportunity for family engagement and to discuss those kinds of things with the parents. So it can be something you can get families involved in. Julia's showing us her pinwheel.
Is it good? Does anyone have any questions about emergency preparedness? What does your emergency preparedness look like, especially with your food inventory?
And I agree with Sarah. I was always prepared as a teacher, but the pandemic showed me how unprepared I was as a parent and a human being.
Yeah. Yes. It's also, yeah, I also was looking and Googling on the USA.gov site, like FEMA, and they're like, you definitely need to have that in storage, formula especially. And we saw how people panic buy during the beginning of the pandemic. So I would recommend like every 6 months to continue buying stuff for your emergency planning, because we don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of years. Oh yeah, toilet paper. And I will never forgive those people who bought toilet paper in bulk and I couldn't find any for like 3 weeks. I will not forgive those people ever.
I went on Amazon and just bought a bidet.
Did it work? Is it working?
I love my bidet to this day. So I use it. I put one in both of my bathrooms now. And I'm telling you.
Just the ones that you like attach on yourself?
Yeah, my husband's he's a plumber, a pipe fitter, so but you can do it pretty fairly easily. And it was the best thing ever. While everybody was going crazy, I was like, okay, we have our Costco supply, but we also have a bidet. So
those are amazing. That was such a good, yeah.
And they're only like what, $30, $40, depending on what kind of model you want to get. I don't need nothing with no warm toilet seat or nothing like that. I just needed a basic one, but it works wonders.
And there's a lot of health benefits to using it too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you, everyone. I am done with my section, and Mandy, you're next, right?
So I'm going to try to share my screen. We'll see if it works. So my section, can everyone see my screen? Okay, awesome. So my section is on the recent DCYF updates. So the first one is on early achievers revisions. So there's been a lot of confusion about when the new system is being implemented. So early adopters, which is the very first people that will be starting, was supposed to start this month. So that should be underway now. And then statewide implementation has been moved to the fall of this year. And there is more information under the continuous quality improvement section of the DCYF website. And we will send this out with our follow-up email, so you can click on this link and look at the information there. The next one is on needs-based grants. So applications are now available once every fiscal year, so between July 1st and June 30th. You must be enrolled in Early Achievers and either on the federal food program or located in a school district with at least 20% low-income children. You access it through the provider portal, also called WA Compass, and here is an address with frequently asked questions about it. And on the FAQ page, there's also a section where you can look and see if you are in a school district that has at least 20% low income. The next section is on subsidy billing. So there's a new billing and payment guidelines available on the DCYF website at this link. They have subsidy rates and phone numbers for assistance if you need that as well. And they have waived family copays until October 1st at this point. And then the last one is the substitute pool. So providers that are enrolled in Early Achievers and taking subsidy can have up to 50 hours of substitute time per year. And then providers that are enrolled in EA but not taking subsidy can have 50 hours based on a first come, first serve basis until funding runs out. And then if you're not enrolled in Early Achievers, you can still access it, but it would be at your expense. So there's more information at the Imagine Institute website, and that will help you find a substitute, or if you already have someone in mind, you can use that as well. So we will send this out with our follow-up email as well. And that's all I have.
Okay, we have made it. I think we just have a couple more things. We're curious what topics you would like to see for these events. What is top of mind for you? So if there's anything you would like, you can either share in the chat, you can unmute yourself and let us know, or you can just tell your coach, because your coach is probably here. So, but we're really curious. We want to make these as meaningful for providers as possible. So let us know what topics are. And then while people are thinking about that, I think we're ready for the raffle. Brandon, are you ready to pull up the wheel?
Yes, I am. All right. I have everyone's name entered. I'm just, unless there are any other questions, we can wait a moment before we do that if anyone has anything that they want to chat about. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to share screen, and if you all could just let me know if it is working.
So far, so good.
All right. Are we ready to spin the wheel? Okay, let's see who is going to be getting an air fryer today.
That was close.
Almost on the line.
Okay, congratulations. Okay, I think with that.
Marion!
Woo, yes, yeah. Who is Marion's coach? Okay, cool. All right, so we'll connect to get address and all that. Right on. Right on. Okay, I think with that, we're done. Thank you for staying a little bit over. Please check your emails. You will get follow-up resources, including recipes. You'll get the pinwheel recipe and the Mexican corn salad recipe. We're really excited. We'll see you next month. And anything else? Anyone else? Or anything else they want to?
If your air fryer has a bake setting, sometimes I think you can put them in there. But definitely, it's worth a try.
Really?
Huh.
And it turned out great. Maybe we need to have a whole GLE on the air fryer. Because I have one and I need to know how to do this.
So easy. So easy once you start using it. You start cooking everything in it. Like everything.
Agreed. It's replaced the microwave in a lot of instances for me.
Is it healthier then? Is it better? Does the food turn out?
You don't use oil to fry things, so it's
Yeah.
debatable whether it's healthy or not. But I mean, you know, it's as opposed to deep frying, I suppose so.
I think I'm gonna end the recording and close out the Zoom. I'm gonna ask coaches to stay on just for another minute. Again, thank you all for coming.